Hello, and welcome to 6 Degrees from Cannabis. I'm your host, Tori Rerick, PharmD and holistic healer. Each episode features a candid conversation about how connecting with the cannabis plant has enhanced an individual's wellness journey. Here to honor the plant, talk about healing, and have fun. Welcome back to 6 Degrees from Cannabis. It's your host, Tori Rerick, here for a special solo episode to close season 2. And today I am sharing lessons that I've learned from the cannabis plant. As I've mentioned here and there, this plant has been a magnificent teacher and has guided me through many a transition. Whether I was aware or not, hindsight, I can really see how she's been guiding me. And also whether or not I was consuming, which I find interesting. So this conversation is inspired by my latest creation, which is the Follow Your Heart Oracle deck, now available for pre-order. This 24-card collection of watercolor art and wisdom is highly inspired, if you know what I mean. The Follow Your Heart Oracle deck incorporates messages and symbols received during cannabis consumption, and it's a tool that invites you to build deep communication within, just as the cannabis plant does. And so the purpose of the deck is to share aspects of the cannabis plant spirit in a tangible way with those of you feeling called to access a heart-centered path. So today's conversation, lessons I've learned from cannabis, will be a perfect companion to that wisdom that's felt inside of the Follow Your Heart Oracle deck, which you can pre-order to receive in November by visiting toriRerick.com/shop/Follow Your Heart Oracle, and I will leave that in the show notes for those of you who are interested. But let's get into the episode, get into the lessons. So for the sake of digestible content, I'm leaving the lessons at a cool 4, and I'd like you to keep in mind that these lessons come from the perspective of mainly consumption and also working on behalf of the plant. But I think that those who grow cannabis, which is not me, I haven't ventured there yet, have a definite unique relationship with the plant deeper, and probably some different aspects to share. But where my lessons and communication with cannabis stem from are its energetic aura, her presence, the community that's formed around her that I have tapped into, and again, also consumption. So lesson number 1 that I've learned from cannabis is to flow. As a recovering type A, this is a big one. And I mean, I've learned to flow in a mental way and also physical. Part of getting to where I am today, academically, professionally, really rested on me being sort of rigid and sticking with a plan, which I understand is valuable, but it didn't always feel good to do so. In many instances, I felt not myself or burnt out because I did so in such extreme ways. I followed plans to such a T, and there was no flexibility there. So cannabis has helped me flow in my routines, and as a mother, not getting bent out of shape at just toddler things. And, physically speaking, cannabis elevates movement for me, whether it's going on a walk or getting into my yoga practice or even sexual intimacy with my partner. There's this fluidity that I really appreciate. And especially as someone who experienced sexual trauma, getting my head and body into the process can sometimes feel very difficult and triggering, quite frankly. So cannabis has definitely been an ally for learning how to live and be in flow. And at the top of the episode, I mentioned the Follow Your Heart Oracle deck, which I think I've been able to master that mantra of follow your heart over the last few years, which is interesting because that phrase really felt foreign to me just not too long ago. I was so used to living for other people, or what I perceived to be other people's expectations, that following my own path just didn't exist. I didn't know what that was. So I really do attribute the series of events like moving to Colorado, leaving pharmacy, working for Moon Mother, starting my own wellness business. I think that that's due to following my heart. I know that that's due to following my heart, which has greatly aligned with following the guidance of Cannabis Plant Spirit, which I find interesting. So I'm now just learning how to reciprocate with the plant thanks to Eliza's episode. Check that one out. That's episode 17 for those of you interested in hearing more about cannabis energetics and reciprocity with the plant. But that feels good to be taking part in that now and feeling this true flow of give and take. I think it's taken me longer to get into that aspect and that part of the relationship because I don't have that agricultural relationship with the plant. I'm disconnected from that, really palpable, tangible process of giving and growing, pouring into the plant, and then being able to receive the bounty and the harvest. But I'm so grateful to, now be learning how to flow. So that's lesson number 1 that I've learned from cannabis. Lesson number 2 that I've learned from cannabis is to center, to be heart-centered, really to take things one at a time and to prioritize, and maybe not prioritization in a traditional efficiency way, but I've learned to focus on what feels most important to me in a moment, to really, cannabis brings you to the present moment. And I've experienced quite a bit of anxiety post-consumption. I'm sure some of you out there have felt that too. And I kind of take that on as a challenge now that my primary work is with mindset and anxiety. I don't really get nervous about having that experience as long as I'm in a setting that feels safe to me, which is, like my home or with just an intimate group of friends. But the reason I don't get riled up about it anymore is because I see it as an exercise to really pare down the noise going on in my head or around me and distill my thoughts down to what the one thing calling my attention is. And I end up resolving my feelings that, maybe have been lying under the surface throughout the day, or I'm just habitually circumventing. Working with cannabis really helps me find the source of the feeling, helps me find that thought that is the source. And that's just one example of this prioritization. But on another side of that, because I've learned my stimuli limits and I'm really aware of that while working with cannabis, it directs me to do one thing at a time, whether that is play with my son or focus on a chore or finish a project, what have you. It's just that nature of our relationship now for me to be able to put the chaos aside and really claim my focus for one thing. And, sometimes I'll have to sort of set that intention beforehand so I don't get distracted. But because of the way that cannabis brings us to the present, brings us back to the heart, it has allowed me to learn how to center. So lesson number 3 that I've learned from cannabis is perspective. Cannabis never fails to bring me an opportunity to shift. And oftentimes I experience an invitation to forgive myself or forgive others, or to extend compassion to myself or to others, or to simply experience appreciation for myself or for others. And in the current climate that we're in, election season for one, forgiveness, compassion, appreciation are the true medicine for the judgment and the chaos that surround us. So cannabis is always helping me to see other sides of myself, other sides of other people, which, are just reflections of us, or maybe other sides of a situation, which brings more understanding. And I think that that's something that's easy to miss when we hold so tightly and cling so tightly to what we think we know. It's really humbling to be shown a different way than what you insist to be true, and then to be able to leverage that for deeper connection in some way. So lesson number 3 learned from cannabis is perspective. And lesson number 4 that I've learned from cannabis is overarching abundance. This has been shown to me in so many different ways. For one, the plant is so resilient and gives such bounty, such variety, which is so beautiful. But it also seems that the fabric of the cannabis community and culture is to share and enjoy together. And so cannabis consumption in a group is really about the experience that is had all together. And rarely, if ever, have I been in a situation where everyone is just consuming what they brought. It's always this open, generous experience where people are sharing and sending others home with what they've grown or wanting someone to try. And it's that spirit of togetherness and connection that's woven into the community, which I find really fascinating. Also, the benefits that the plant offers are endless. They may not, be available to everyone, each benefit, but the plethora of applications and indications and experiences that cannabis provides is truly prosperous and one of overflow. It's so multifaceted and just continuously giving to us experience. I can go on about the abundance. It's easy to do. But yeah, that's lesson number 4 I've learned from cannabis, is just how to be open, how to be generous, how to share, and how to extend bounty if I have more than enough. So those are the 4 lessons that I learned from cannabis that I wanted to share today, that wanted to be shared with you, come through. 1 is to flow, 2 is to center, 3 is perspective, and 4 is abundance. And I would love to hear lessons that you've learned from cannabis. If you've resonated deeply with anything I shared today, or you want to add your own lessons, you can visit our Instagram at 6 Degrees from Cannabis and share on our latest post. And if you give us a follow there, you'll be in sync to be notified when season 3 launches in 2021. And before I leave you, if you enjoyed today's episode, you may enjoy the Follow Your Heart Oracle deck, which is now available for pre-order, again at toryrerick.com/shop/followyourheartoracle, which is linked below. I hope that you're having a lovely week, that you'll take these lessons with you, and bliss be with you. Thank you so much for tuning in to 6 Degrees from Cannabis. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star rating. You can find more information about holistic healing and what I do by visiting toryrerick.com. Find me on Instagram at YourGuideTori and connect with me through direct message anytime. Peace out.